video lecture number 26, 2.3, The Inchcape Rock by Robert Saudi. Hello dear students and dear friends. In my last video lecture, I discussed the content of the poem, the theme of the poem, the Inchcape Rock, and the poem line by line in detail. Today too, I will continue with the same poem, The Inchcape Rock, by a very famous English poet, Robert Saudi. But today, I will discuss the margin activities and the figures of speech in the poem The Inchcape Rock. So friends, first we will discuss the margin activities in the poem. So open your textbook of English and see the margin activities on page number 105, or you can also read these margin activities on the screen in front of you. Now see the first margin activity that is given on page number 105 in the blue margin. Give reasons for the sailor's appreciation of the abbot. Give reasons for the sailor's appreciation of the abbot. Now I tell you the answer on my own. There were some dangerous rocks near the Scottish coast. The abbot of Aberbrothock had placed a buoy and fixed a bell on it near those rocks. If the sea was rough, the sailors could spot the buoy. Even in the darkness, the rough seas made the bell ring. So by day or night, the abbot's bell saved the sailors and their ships from the rock, and they blessed him. Now see the next margin activity. Guess the meaning of wheeled round. Guess the meaning of wheeled round. Now the phrase wheeled round means a flock of birds flying round in circles which looks like a wheel. I repeat, wheeled round means a flock of birds flying round in circles which looks like a wheel. Now see the next margin activity. The next margin activity is describe the state of mind of Sir Ralph. The next activity is describe the state of mind of Sir Ralph. Ralph the rower felt the effects of the season of spring. He felt very cheerful. He whistled and sang As he walked about on the deck, he was in an extremely happy state of mind, but his joy was evil in intentions. Now see the next one, the next margin activity. When the rower spotted the bell, he cut the bell from the boy. This was an act of, now here 4 options are given, you will have to select only one. 1. Hatred, 2. Anger, 3. Jealousy, and 4. Frustration. Its a correct answer is 3. Jealousy. Its a correct answer is 3. Jealousy. Now see the next one, the next activity. Gurgling sound. Find the figure of speech. The figure of speech in this line is onomatopoeia. The figure of speech in this line is onomatopoeia. Why? Because here the word gurgling expresses sound. Here the word gurgling expresses sound. So figure of speech here is onomatopoeia. Now please turn on the page and see the margin of activities on the next page. Now see the margin activity. Okay, this is the activity. Oh Christ, it is the Inchcape rock. Oh Christ, it is the Inchcape rock. What made Ralph the rower to exclaim this line? Now I tell you the answer. The rower's ship had struck the terrible rocks feared by sailors. Some time ago, he himself had cut off the bell put there by blessed abbot. Some time ago, Sir Ralph the rower himself had cut off that bell which was put there by blessed abbot. Now his own ship had hit the Inchcape rock and was going to sink with all his riches. He too was sure about to die, and so he exclaimed, "Oh Christ, it is the Inchcape rock." Thus, we have finished all the margin activities in the poem. Now, let's turn towards the figures of speech. Now, we'll discuss the figures of speech in the poem from the first line, line by line. So, come back to the first page of the poem, that is on page number 104, or you can also read the lines on the screen in front of you. Now we'll go for the figures of speech. Now see the line. No stir in the air, no stir in the sea. In this line, the figure of speech is repetition. Repetition. Why? Here, the words no stir in are repeated for emphasis. So the figure of speech in this line is repetition. How to write its explanation? Repetition, underline dash. Here the words no stir in are repeated for emphasis. Now see the next line. Without either sign or sound of their shock. Now in this line, without either sign or sound of their shock. In this line, the figure of speech is alliteration. How? Here, the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Now, see the next one. The next line. So little they rose, so little they fell. In this line, there are two figures of speech. One, repetition. Here, the words so little are repeated for emphasis. Another figure of speech, antithesis. Here, two opposite words or ideas, rose and fell, are used. Now see the next stanza. In the next stanza, the line, on a buoy in the storm, it floated and swung. See the line. In the third stanza, on a buoy in the storm, it floated and swung. In this line, there are three figures of speech. There are two figures of speech. There are two figures of speech in this line. Number one, inversion. Inversion. How inversion is here? Here, the words are not in the correct prose order. The correct prose order of the sentence is, it floated and swung on a buoy in the storm. Another figure of speech, alliteration. Here, the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next line. In the same stanza, the next line. And over the waves its warning rung. Again, here also there are two figures of speech. One, inversion. How? Here the words are not in the correct prose order. The correct prose order of the sentence is, and its warning rung over the waves. The correct prose order of the sentence is, and its warning rung over the waves. You will have to write this correct prose order into single inverted comma while writing the explanation of the figures of speech. Another figure of speech is alliteration. Here, the sound of W is repeated pleasingly. Now, see on the next page. See the lines on page number 105. See the line. When the rock was hit by the surge's swell. See this line on page number 105. See this line. When the rock was hit by the surge swell. Here the figure of speech is alliteration. Here the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next line in the sixth stanza. In the sixth stanza, now see this line. The boy of the Inchcape bell was seen. The boy of the Inchcape bell was seen. The very first line in stanza number 6. Here the figure of speech is alliteration. Here the sound of B is repeated pleasingly. Boy, bell. So here alliteration. Here the sound of B is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next line in the same stanza. Sir Ralph the rower walked his deck. Here again there is alliteration, as here the sound of R is repeated pleasingly at the initial position of the word. Now see the next line. See the next stanza and the next line. It made him whistle, it made him sing. Now see the line. It made him whistle, it made him sing. In this line, the figure of speech is repetition. Here, the words it made him are repeated for emphasis. Now, see the next figure of speech. See the next stanza, that is stanza number 9. Stanza number 9. It is the last second stanza on this page and third line from it. Sir Ralph bent over from the boat. Sir Ralph bent over from the boat. Here the figure of speech is alliteration, because here the sound of B is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next line. Down sunk the bell with a gurgling sound. Down sunk the bell with a gurgling sound. In this line, there are 3 figures of speech. Number 1, alliteration. Alliteration. Here, the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Number 2, onomatopoeia. Here, how to write this explanation? Onomatopoeia, underline dash, and then write. Here, the word gurgling expresses the sound. And third one is inversion. Here, the words are not in the correct prose order. The correct prose order of the sentence is the bell sunk down with a gurgling sound. Now turn on the page and see the figures of speech in the next lines on page number 106. You see the line, very second line from this stanza, that is stanza number 11. He scoured the seas for many a day. Alliteration. Here the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next stanza, the next line, second line in the next stanza. They cannot see the sun on high. Here also alliteration. Here the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next line. See the next line. The next line is, on the deck the rower takes his stand. On the deck the rover takes his stand. Here the figure of speech is inversion. Here the words are not in the correct prose order. The correct prose order of the sentence is the rover takes his stand on the deck. Now see the next line. The figure of speech in the next line. They hear no sound. The swell is strong. Here alliteration. Here the sound of S is repeated pleasingly. Now see the next line. See the next line here. Oh Christ, it is the Inchcape rock. Here the figure of speech is apostrophe. The figure of speech is apostrophe. Here Jesus Christ, who was not present there actually, is addressed directly. What is apostrophe? When in the line of the poem a dead person or an absent person or object is addressed directly as if it is present in front of the speaker, at that time there is apostrophe. So in this line, oh Christ, it is the Inchcape rock. Here the figure of speech apostrophe is there. How? Because here Jesus Christ, who was not present there actually, is addressed directly. So how to write its explanation? Apostrophe, underline dash. Here Jesus Christ, who was not present there actually, is addressed directly. Now see the next line. Sir Ralph the rover tore his hair. Here alliteration. Here the sound of R is repeated pleasingly. And the next figure of speech, the last stanza, second line. One dreadful sound could the rover hear. Here the figure of speech is inversion. See the line. One dreadful sound could the rover hear. Here the figure of speech is inversion. The correct prose order of the sentence is the rover could hear one dreadful sound. The rover could hear one dreadful sound. So friends, thus we have discussed all the figures of speech in this line. We should stop here. In my next video lecture, I will discuss the brainstorming section and the appreciation of the poem, or the poetic appreciation of the poem The Inchcape Rock. Once again, I suggest you and tell you to read the poem line by line and study the poem properly with the help of my video lectures, listening them carefully, and do the activities on your own. Also note down all these activities in your logbook or register at home personally or individually. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.